Good night and welcome to DLP TV. My name is Malissa Howard and I am your host for tonight. Joining me tonight is David Walrond, the candidate for St. George North. And to his right is Jason Phillip, the candidate for St. Peter. And to my far right is Mr. Damien Fanus, attorney at law. I just want to remind you guys to please like and share and make your comments as often as usual. Our topic for tonight is FORESEE or FORESEEs: cost of living, crime, corruption, and culture of moral decay. Our first topic for tonight is cost of living. Taxes. Let's talk about the taxes. How many taxes are we currently paying in Barbados? Jason.
Perhaps too many.
Mhm.
But I want to focus on the value added tax.
Mhm.
Right? If government is really serious about cost of living, it could do one of two things. It could either reduce the current value added tax at current percentage and probably lower it to about 7.5% on all items, doing away with the zero rate items. Or they could have perhaps concentrate on key essentials, for example, food, hygiene items, baby food, baby products, and so on. If government is really serious about cost of living, because the VAT is a key tax that hurts everyone.
Mhm. Damien.
To follow on Comrade Jason's comments, I want people to remember that that was a manifesto promise by the Barbados Labour Party. They promised to reduce the 17.5% to 15%. That has not been done. So far, we are under heavy taxation.
Mhm.
And they even said themselves as one of their manifesto promises as a criticism, you cannot tax your way out of a recession.
Mhm.
But apparently, they are piling on more taxes on the Barbadian people that they can bear. So what is it? It is either that you are basically liars or you're incompetent. You could either be one of the both. Or either,
Yeah, both.
but basically, there are too many taxes right now.
David.
Well, I will speak to this tax issue as a consumer. And as a consumer, I can say that we are being taxed out of our shoes. The reality is that all these taxes has contributed to a very high cost of living. And it is very difficult for the average person, or we call the working class person in Barbados, to survive under this present situation. We are at a place where persons are finding it difficult to pay basic things like rent, bills, and everything adds up to the amount of taxes that are being piled on to the people of Barbados. We are really too heavily taxed in this country.
If I may add by saying, I think government should also revisit the income tax.
Mhm.
Allow people more disposable income. People have to buy food, they have to pay rent, they have to buy medicine. Invariably, they're going to collect the tax and same value added tax, but you could decrease the income tax, perhaps the tax that the employer has to pay too. When you decrease that national insurance tax, the employer can then hire more people, right? We get a more robust economy. But right now, I think that the Barbados Labour Party led government is a bit greedy.
Greedy. We have the fuel tax. Remember, it was announced that we will no longer be paying fuel tax.
That's true.
And they added a tax at the pump. How much more money are we spending since that tax has been added?
In fact, the question is, how much money have they collected?
Excellent.
I would like to know how much money they collected on that fuel tax, and also the tax on the water bill too.
Yes.
And people in St. Peter not connected to the system paying that tax while having dirty water or several water outages during the week. It's quite unfair to the people of St. Peter. People in St. Peter should probably get a basic water bill, or if you want to call it a tax. And then when the problems in St. Peter are fixed with the water outages or the groundwater and so on, then they could go back and charge us the regular water rate. But that sewage tax on the water needs to come out, especially in areas in Barbados that is not connected to the sewage treatment plant.
Yeah, the sewage tax, the additional fee is about $7, and the garbage tax fee is about $35.
Yeah.
So you can imagine,
$41.
yeah, a person living alone, normally you would have been paying, let's say $30 in a water bill,
Yeah.
but now you're paying almost $80. So how does that affect that person?
Single parent with 3 children,
Mm-hmm.
right? Unconscionable. Barbados Labour Party government, please. Please, I know what that is.
My concern about these different taxes, right? My concern really is not just the fact that taxes are being collected, but how do we know how much taxes are being collected in Barbados? We need accountability. We need to know how much garbage and sewage tax has been collected. We want to know, we want to see the balance sheet. The people of Barbados are paying taxes, but they don't know how much taxes are being collected with the sewage and garbage tax. They know accountability, even with the fuel tax. We need accountability in regards to all these different taxes that we are being asked to pay, that the people of Barbados are being asked to pay on a daily basis. No government has in my mind, has the right to be collecting taxes willy-nilly without accounting to the people of this country how much taxes they're collecting and what the taxes are being used for. And that's my real issue with the taxes right now. I mean, part of my issue is that we are overtaxed. But for me, what is most concerning is that the taxes are being collected. What is it doing? Where is it being spent? Who is spending it? How much has been collected?
Well, I will say, I think there was a program on the radio, Clyde Maskell, in his capacity as a consultant. I think he actually said that the amount that was collected was about $80 million
Something $80 million every month.
on the water.
That's water alone. If I want to go a little bit further, if you will permit me, right? We have the Ministry of Commerce, we have the Fair Trading Commission, and the Consumer Affairs Division, but they don't have any power, right? We need to strengthen these departments in government. For example, you need to give the FTC real enforcement power to stop price gouging. You need to make the consumer affairs more visible in communities with regular price checks and reports. And we need to remove VAT from essential items. There's certain foods that should not be taxed. Hygiene items, and of course, baby products. We also need to review the Price Control Act and update the list of protected items to reflect today's reality.
How important is the Public Accounts Committee in overseeing all these things, Damien?
Transparency, because then you can actually see where the money is going and account for it. So my issue is, because as following on to my comrades, what they were saying is, as you're collecting all of these taxes, you can't see where they're going. You can't see what programs they're going into, but then yet every time you want to do some form of development in Barbados, you're borrowing money. So then what are the taxes being collected for? Because if it is that we cannot use the income that is generated to fuel our own development, and then you have to go outside to borrow money to then talk about you want to develop this, or you want to fix this, or you want to build that, that shows that this same GDP, this debt to ratio GDP that they've been talking about, is a facade, it's a house of cards. Because you're not, because they can mind people, the GDP is the amount of goods and services that you actually produce in your country. So then when you're saying that our debt to GDP ratio has come down to about 100%, when basically our services and productions have dropped, which means that you're then buttressing that same GDP debt ratio by borrowing and then putting it in the reserves. That is a house of cards. So then something as serious as a recession, a pandemic, financial crisis, anything along those lines will blow that house of cards down, even a natural disaster. So then if you're telling me then that our GDP is growing and growth is about 4%, going to 5%, that should then trickle down to the people, which it is not trickling down to the people, and it's not affecting the cost of living.
But,
Go ahead.
sorry, recently, minimum wage was raised. Right? Automatically, you start to see an increase in items in the store.
Yeah.
But the government is responsible for the Fair Trading Commission.
Mhm.
And the Fair Trading Commission must be allowed to do its work
Mhm.
to reduce price gouging. And the Barbados Labour Party-led government is not doing its work. It has a mandate to protect the citizens of Barbados, right? Too much price gouging is going on.
We have a comment here from Kamhar stating that $8 million collected per
80.
month.
80.
Sorry, 80 million collected per month. Per month is what Maskell said, and he insisted that that was the number.
Well,
80 million per month.
that is a lot of money. That is a lot of money.
At $80 billion, we should have better roads,
Better water,
better water.
better quality water.
What is the government doing with our tax dollars? Who is accountable?
Wait, what?
These difficult questions must be asked. And we must hold the Barbados Labour Party-led government feet to the fire. Barbadians are paying taxes through the ears, and we're not seeing value for money. The cost of living is too high. Even tourists are complaining about the high cost of living.
We have another comment from Kamhar. They gave away $300 during the St. James North by-election in May 2025. Then they go back to borrowing in June and July. Do you remember what happened the day after the by-election?
Yes, they had increased. The fuel costs. Right. So one day they give us some money,
Mhm.
and the following day they increase the cost of gas.
Yeah, that's correct.
Right. I don't know if government is playing games with the ordinary Barbadians, or they think that we are not observing what is going on.
Oh.
Right. And the Barbadian public is paying close attention to these gimmicks.
But it should be noted that the cost of fuel has been decreasing over the last 2 years worldwide. But in Barbados, the cost of fuel has been increasing. Our light bills are affected by fuel costs. How is it affecting the households? Damien?
Well, what I can tell you is that households would be constrained. Their spending power would be reduced and significantly decreased. Because I want people to understand that while we might talk about cost of living, being able to buy food and pay your bills, cost of living must now take in concepts like entrepreneurship. That affects your way of living. If you're able to start a little business, or go into start a business with a partner or something and be an entrepreneur, that allows you to live. That allows you to also hire other individuals to provide goods and services. If you cannot afford to even start a business, if you can't find a job, you can't even afford to start your own business to say that you want to be like a sole trader or whatever, then it's basically you're at a loss. You can't affect anything in your home. You can't affect anything outside of your home. You can't even pay bills. You can't probably even renovate your home if it needs renovating. Can't probably send your children to school properly. So this cost of living doesn't only include your bills and your food. It's your ability now to probably even start to living for yourself, get into any entrepreneurship enterprises and what's not.
That is what I said earlier, that we need consumer affairs going on in the marketplace and doing more price checks. Government has a responsibility to check the prices to make sure that the population of Barbados are not suffering from price gouging, right?
And it's to address the cost of doing business in Barbados.
Yes.
That also includes your fuel, that includes your exchange taxes, your import taxes. All of these things
Mhm.
would go into thinking about cost of living. Because if you are someone who imports, then obviously those fees are killing you. So then now you have to raise your prices, which then is passed on to the consumer.
Mhm.
So then it is basically a domino effect of people not being able to effectively live. So
David?
Yeah. So I think what Damien basically just said is that high cost of living will obviously affect direct foreign investment into the country. Because if I was a business mogul living outside of Barbados and I wanted to do some business in the Caribbean, obviously Barbados would become unattractive based on the high cost of living and the high cost of fuel and everything, which obviously affect or will have an effect on the high cost of living.
Yeah.
So basically, we are shooting ourselves in the feet by keeping our cost to live so high because we're not going to get the direct foreign investment from business persons who would want to do business in the Caribbean.
Yeah, because
But we would not be attractive.
the expenditure would be too high.
Too high.
Yeah.
Right. But I also want to come back to the fact that, like what Jason was saying, we need the average person, the householder, the taxpayer, the people who make Barbados happen, who keeps Barbados rolling over, the people who spend money in Barbados. We need to protect these people. These people need protection from what is happening. Because, like the points that were made, we are overtaxed. And recently, I haven't heard anybody really saying anything in regards to pay hikes.
Mhm.
Right? We hear about the minimum wage, but I might have missed something. When have the general population, when has the public service recent, when was the last pay hike that the public service in Barbados had? When was it? I've been trying for a couple of days, but I didn't do my research. But I've been trying for a couple of days to remember on the fly. When was the last time the public service had a pay hike? Because we're getting tax hikes.
The correct question would be a substantial pay hike.
A substantial pay hike. We're getting tax hikes. We're getting additional taxes. We're being taxed, as the point was made said by everybody. We're being heavily taxed. But what we are matching it with additional pay for the workers of Barbados? Because once the taxes keep going up and the pay stays down here, you're opening up a gap between affordability and poverty.
What is going on here is that we get the government. There's no eroding the middle class in Barbados, right? And what government must do, government must reduce that. It must start with the reduction of the value added. Probably go over then to the income tax. Give people more disposable income and create a little more energy in the economy.
Land taxes. How much more are we paying now for land tax than we were before? You remember the incident with Sonia Brown when her land tax increased by more than $4,000? Damien.
well, we can see that there's a sense of disingenuousness when it comes to how this government says that they're for the normal working class person and their actions. Because then when you can see taxes jumping by more than probably 500%, when you can criticize the previous administration about a sewage tax that was a brief tax for probably about a year or so much, and then implement your own sewage tax, your own, what was it called again? There, the water
Sewage and garbage tax.
Sewage and garbage tax, right? Change your name as Comrade as my comrade here said. And you made this promise to the Barbadian people. You made this promise that you were going to address the cost of living. That you criticized the previous administration and told them you can't tax yourself out of recession. You can't tax yourself into prosperity. But yet, when you printed it in your manifesto, you went in a totally different direction. Because no, not only are our simple like value-added tax still the same place, our food taxes, basically our land taxes. You've now basically shown the people that you do not care. You don't care. You said something and you did the total opposite, which means you've not taken their lifestyle or their living into consideration. And then you want to come and tell people, give me the vote and watch me. And for 7 years, you've taxed the people to the bone. If that is not a fundamental failure of government, I don't know what is.
Damien, you just strike a note with me. You know that garbage and sewage tax that the Barbadians are asked to pay? You remember why that came about? So we have to go back to the why, then to understand
What's going on now?
What's going on now and why people feel so aggrieved by this garbage and sewage tax. Sewage was flowing on the streets in 2017. And this government came up with this great plan to save the agents from sewage all over the world. Here, how sewage was flowing in the streets in Barbados. This garbage and sewage tax was just for a temporary fix. I think it was an 18-month tax, you know. It wasn't designed, or it was said that it was just to fix the sewage problem. But 7 years later, we're still saddled with the garbage and sewage tax.
Sure.
And this government, this very disrespectful government, has done nothing or said anything to Barbadians regarding the sewage and garbage tax and the truth about the sewage and garbage tax. Why I say that? Because if you implement a tax, and you say the people of Barbados stuff, we have to bring this tax because we need to fix this problem. The problem is fixed, or is said to be fixed.
Why not remove it?
Why not remove it? Why are we just being held to the fire all the time? And what's even more disgusting, I live in the country. I live in St. George North. I haven't seen a single one of my constituents attached to the sewage system. Not one. But every month they're asked to pay sewage and garbage tax for somebody else, some other part of the island, to use the toilets and the sewage system. How fair is that? So people has the right to fight against the sewage and garbage tax as it stands right now. Because it's not fair. It's not fair to the people that live in the country that has to use an outhouse. That they're paying sewage and garbage tax and still got to go there and let the cockroaches run them around. So the reality is that we need fairness in governance. We need fairness. And this sewage and garbage tax, as it stands, is not fair to Barbadians.
You know what I think we're going to see probably next couple of days? Big headline saying we're going to provide an ease for the Barbadian people and we're going to remove this particular tax. Because it seems like whenever something is highlighted in this program, government acts.
And I'm honestly
within a week.
I'm glad, they're watching.
You know, and so then I want the Barbadian people to be cognizant of what they're seeing too, right? So because it's one thing to be reactive, right? But it's another thing to make promises, don't do them, then get criticized, and then act. That is disingenuous.
Right.
That is hypocrisy at the highest level. And the government knows that. They know that it's not like they implement these things and forget. It's like they just go, you just push the boundaries to see how far you can go, how much you can make, and how far you can push the boundaries before something is said. So then, now that something is said, are the Barbadian people going to get ease off the tax that you said that was only supposed to be implemented for a short time? I guess elections are going to be around the corner just now.
Well, I think I think the people of Barbados need to make some demands of the government. You see, at the end of the day, how we've been treated over the last 7 years, we've been made to feel as if we begging the government to do things.
Things they promise.
We put them there.
Uh-huh.
We expect them to do what they promise.
What they promised.
What they promise. All we are asking for is for this government to keep their promises.
Mhm.
And I'm going to segue a little bit.
Mhm.
Remember, I was talking about the pay hikes and for public servants and stuff like that. The meager pay hikes the public servant would have had, and then the taxes that came and opened up the gap.
Yeah.
That gap,
Mhm.
right? I am going to call on the unions and the representative for St. George North, the current MP for St. George North.
Mhm.
Who is a leader of the union?
Who is the leader of the union?
Mhm.
I am asking her to please step up to the plate and represent the people. You are a politician. You are a unionist and you're a politician.
Mhm.
You know you are a unionist and you're a politician.
Mhm.
You know what's happening. If you are on the ground, you should know what's happening to the constituents of St. George North.
Mhm.
And based on that, I'm calling on you to do something in regards to that big gap that exists between pay and taxes, because we are asked to pay a lot of taxes in Barbados, and we have no other choice because this is how you did it. You put it on water, and if you don't pay your water bill, and if you don't pay that tax, your water turn off. So we have no other choice but to pay that tax. No other choice. We're forced to pay. Good, you did well, but we want you to do well for the people of Barbados and the people of St. George North, who you vote to represent. They need not to fall below that line. People are falling below the poverty line. And until we do something about the pay people are taking home, people will continue to fall below the poverty line. Please help the people of St. George North, help the people of Barbados. You vote to do it. You will do it, because if you don't do it, I will do it.
Mhm.
The people of St. George North need representation and proper representation. We don't want you visiting St. George only at election time. The people want representation, and right now we are not seeing it from you. All right, so it's a plea for the people of St. George North. We got issues, overgrown bush, we got bad roads, we got lighting issues. We have a lot of issues in St. George North right now. As a driver, I can tell you, it's very expensive to drive on the roads of Barbados. Even the roads of St. George North are very, very bad, and they're destroying people's vehicles. And to drive in Barbados is very expensive. Look at the price of gas. Yeah. So, Miss MP for St. George North, do something for the workers of Barbados. You're a unionist. Come out and fight on their behalf so they can get proper wages and proper salaries so that they don't fall below the poverty line.
Well said. In case you don't know who the representative for St. James North is, so St. George North, her name is Tony Moore.
Mhm.
We have the foreign exchange tax. Do you think it is fair for Barbadians to be paying 2% on every transaction that they make online? Jason?
I think in a way that's actually devaluing the dollar. That's just that you took away the one thing and made it for the lowest denominator, right? It's a way of devaluing the currency. And not only that, it's a way of taxing people. You tax people with income tax. You tax people when they buy the items that they want. And they turn and tax them with the credit card.
Hmm.
I think it's outrageous stuff. Plainly put.
Damien?
Yeah, it's just another oppressive tax that takes away from your spending ability.
Mm.
Because then now once that tax kicks in, you can't buy as much as you used to before.
Mhm.
So for me, I've said to everyone here, I've waxed poetic about promises made. Understand me? Promises kept. That was their mantra.
Mm.
And for the time being, we've not seen that. And they said that they were going to remove certain taxes. They said that they were going to address the cost of living. And if I challenge my Barbadian people, go back and read those 2018 and 2022 manifestos.
Mhm.
Read them again. They're still online, but maybe not for long, but but read them again. Read them again and see all the promises that were made in regards to foreign exchange, in regards to value added tax, in regards to cost of living, housing, all of those, including crime, but we ain't get there yet. So we won't get ahead of myself, comrades. But all of those promises, when I sit down and I read them, it just makes my blood boil. It makes me angry how you could sit down and criticize the previous administration and then turn around and do 10 times as worse.
David? Foreign exchange tax.
This foreign exchange situation, like my colleague said, it continues to erode the few coins that they will have in pocket. So I have had some conversations where people say they don't have savings anymore. But how can you have savings if at every turn there's a tax taking it away from you? I wonder at some points in time how much of a dollar that a Barbadian make, how much of it is taken away in taxes. Because to me, this foreign exchange tax is, I don't know if it's to protect somebody or if it is just to create another avenue to collect more taxes.
Mhm.
But the reality is that the last administration was criticized for a tax called, what was the tax called? It was criticized for this tax, the Democratic Party, that the goods were being taxed at the port.
Hmm.
You remember that the business persons who brought in stuff were paying this tax, and it was criticized, and people marched up and down the streets because of this tax. And I am trying to figure out how come for that one tax, people were willing to be mobilized.
NSRL.
NSRL. Yes, thank you, Damien.
NSRL.
How come?
Thank the comments on the.
We had so many people mobilized
Mhm. Marching.
push down this NSRL. But today we have so many more taxes, and nobody wants to, they don't even want to walk to get to the bus stop anymore. People don't want to walk no more because somehow, for some reason, something is preventing us from walking. We should be marching up and down the streets because we have so many more taxes than the NSRL that is having an impact on poor people in this country. If you're poor, God help you, because you can't lift yourself up because the burden is coming from the people you put to manage the country.
Very true.
That's where the burden is coming from. The people you put to manage the country, it are the persons who are keeping you down.
Yeah.
And that's the big problem in Barbados. And that's why people are crying out. I know people are crying out because I'm out there on the ground talking to people every day. And people are not happy. People are concerned about how they're going to eat tomorrow. People are concerned about how they're going to get the water bill paid this month. And that is another bill that is concerning people because whenever they look at their bill and they see that garbage and so is that, it frustrates people because when you look around, you're not connected to any garbage, any sewer system. So why are you paying that? But anyhow, that's repetitive. The reality is that these taxes are making poor people poorer and destroying the middle class in this country. And that's important. because I am happy when I see a person work hard and move themselves up into a different bracket in society. I'm happy for them. But it's hard to watch these people move themselves, elevate themselves to that level, and then are forced back down by an oppressive government and oppressive taxes.
Well said. But it should be noted that the NSRL was paid by the merchants and not the consumers. So we come to the end of the cost of living segment. We're moving on to crime. Most of our citizens have been very, very, very concerned and uneasy about the crime that is currently going on in Barbados. So I'm going to ask David, what are the constituents of St. George North telling you about the crime situation in that constituency?
You know, sometimes you wish there could be a easy way around this crime situation. You wish that you could shut off your St. George North from it and the rest of Barbados and don't bother about the crime thing. But crime is something for everybody to be bothered about. Why I say that? If somebody is shot at a bus stop, everybody else that go to a bus stop anywhere in Barbados, they will be traumatized. There will be anxiety because somebody gets shot at a bus stop. Reality is that St. George North is not isolated. We have only recently, we buried a young man who was a victim of a shooting. And I want to take this time, I beg you, to say to the Braffett family of Ballyland and St. George, to wish them my greatest condolences for the loss of Rashawn. I was at that funeral and the pain was imminent. People were hurting. That death had a massive impact on the people of St. George, especially people down in the valley area. And his grandfather, a cricket stalwart in St. George, pavilion at is it George Park? The pavilion right next to the parish church is named after him. A cricketing hero, George Braffett, a cricketing hero in St. George. And he would have gone through hell over the last couple of months. He lost two grandchildren over the last couple of months. And my condolences go to you and your family, George. I pray that God will continue to heal and continue to bless you and continue to bring you through this moment, because it must have been very difficult for y'all. But the crime situation doesn't stop there, because this is what's happening. People are afraid to go to bus stops in Barbados now, especially the bus stops that are dark.
Which are many.
People are afraid to walk certain streets because of poor lighting. It brings them up here. It isn't just the shootings either, you know, because we would have had situations where we would have had some break-ins and some robberies where people walk in the streets were robbed, chains snatched, mothers pushed down, or people treated like trash. These are all crimes that bring about a negative effect to the society. So it is not just the shootings, but the shootings has the greatest effect in the sense that people are afraid to walk the streets after certain hours at night. People are genuinely afraid. So crime, there has to be a resolution to crime in Barbados. And I believe it has to be multi-layered. It cannot be a single department of government. It can't be a single sector of society dealing. Crime has to be dealt with deeper. I'm going to take you down to another level.
We can come.
We'll come back to me. I'll deal with that.
Jason, tell us about the crime in St. Peter.
Well, just let me start by saying that the Royal Barbados Police Service and the National Task Force on Crime Prevention are doing what they can, but crime still grips our community. Right? Recently, I visited a constituent of St. Peter who was brutally attacked by a man wielding a cutlass. He basically chop off her foot,
Wow.
right? She was a teacher at my school, my secondary school. So I needed my business to go and visit her in the hospital, right? But this government must boost community policing, especially in vulnerable communities. And you need to expand also on the after-school mentorship programs. And the government must provide more tools for the police to work with. We need more CCTV
Mhm.
in communities. We need digital
Cameras.
forensic
Yeah. Mhm.
and intelligent units. Just yesterday, former police told me that when he was in the Royal Barbados Police Force, as it then was, the commissioner of police asked him, another man, to find where the guns and so on were coming from. And he was given 2 weeks. He said that they did not do it in 2 weeks, but they did it in 4. They were given an unmarked car, and they were able to traverse all across the island and collect a lot of intelligence. Where there's a will, there's a way. And if this Barbados Labour Party led government has the will,
Mhm.
we can find all of these guns and so on. I can give them a hint. Follow the money. Follow the money. Barbados is 21/14. A dot, a rock in the sea. If you follow the money, you will find weapons. We don't manufacture weapons in Barbados, right? And I'm fed up because only recently we had a shooting in St. James.
Hold on.
In a popular tourist area. Government of Barbados, we have one real industry. Barbados, that's the tourism industry. And if you don't do your work, you're going to affect the economy of Barbados. It only takes a travel advisory against Barbados, and that can hurt our tourism sector. You owe us a risk. You have a mandate to protect citizens and residents of this country, and by extension, our tourists. The crime in Barbados is way too high.
Right.
I remember, I have to get to this. When the Democratic Labour Party brought crime and violence to the fore, we were mocked.
Very true.
Crime and violence. Crime and violence. Yeah, they laugh at us.
Very true. Very true.
And today,
Very true.
the same Barbados Labour Party-led government is backing the Democratic Labour Party to assist them when they did not realize, when they did not accept crime and violence was getting out of control. It is now beginning to affect our bottom line, our tourist industry, and this is very, very serious thing. Something must be done and done very quickly.
Right. Damien, you're not a candidate,
No, please.
but could you talk to us about the crime situation where you live?
So I live in St. Michael, South Central, that constituency. And remember that video that went around with that old man that got robbed on Belmont Road? That is 3 minutes away from me. 3 minutes. The city of Bridgetown is 5 minutes away from me. Nelson Street and that particular area, that is 5 minutes away from me. And I grew up all through that area. I have friends all through that area. Sometimes when I'm going through town, when I'm going to do my business in town, I would just pass through there and shout some friends and see how they're doing. to see now that it's not even safe to just walk Nelson Street where that there are people who are on motorcycles brandishing automatic weapons, you know, shooting at houses.
Mhm.
People telling you that a bullet just flew through my window or flew through my door. That is utter madness. So the crime situation is out of control. And I want people to understand something too. Remember that recently the PSV owners said that they're going to stop work early because they themselves are afraid of the crime situation. And let's not forget too that recently they had a viral video going around with the guy John, that who they call Van Wyck.
Mhm.
Van Wyck,
The
when
driver.
those two
Yeah,
those
yeah.
two youngsters got in the
Mhm.
van with the intentions to rob him, and he scared the living daylights out of them. It is good for him that those gentlemen weren't the brightest bulbs in the room. You know, it's I'm glad that he was able to just walk away almost unscathed.
Mhm.
But what if there's a situation where somebody gets in the van now and with all intentions to take your money, and if you somehow move too slow, they take your life? Here recently, we heard about a gentleman who got shot, shutting up his shop. So it is out of control, and I might sound like a broken record, but these were all promises that were made to us. You made the promise that Barbados was going to be safe under your tenure.
Mhm.
It is not like if you had difficulties in implementing any policies that you had, because you just sit down and show off about this turkey love that you do twice. But it really, really, truly, that door swings both ways. If you can install a light bulb with 30 people, that just goes to show how incompetent you are and that you have no ideas. And if you have no ideas, step aside. Let somebody else take over. Let
Correct.
somebody else put their hands to making the Barbadian people safe. Because if you are not going to keep your promises, then let somebody else do it.
They have created the deadliest 7 years we've ever seen.
I think crime rate is about 41%. That's almost 50%.
Mhm.
That's almost a 50% increase. And half the year barely gone.
True. So how is the crime affecting our economy, David?
Obviously, a lot of business places are closing earlier than usual.
Earlier.
Many supermarkets you can't go get a supermarket open after 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Couple of years ago, certain supermarkets would advertise a minute after 10.
Yes.
And a minute after 10, you better don't go to the supermarket, or the mark might do it for you. But the reality is that crime obviously is having an effect on people, on business persons, because remember, they have become the brunt of the attack has been on business people, because the people know where the money is,
Mhm.
right? And but I also want to go to the fact that we noticed something happening in the schools. You see, the school is an incubator.
Mhm.
I noticed something happening in the schools where there seems to be a handoff effect. I don't know if it's deliberate or what, but there seems to be a hands-off effect with the school system. The school system seems to be not, it seems to be out of whack. There don't seem to be any real coordination in the schools. It seems that the children doing as they like. It seems as if the teachers are frustrated. Schools, there's a problem in schools right now.
Mhm.
I'm going to sound this warning. They are going to grow up, They're not going to remain little children. And if they are let go, if they're allowed to be loosen up there at that age,
Mhm.
think about 5 years down the line. So we got a problem. We have a problem that has already started in the school that will translate down the road into other problems. So if we think that crime is going to be solved by a special unit anytime soon, remember there has also to be a program designated for those children who are presently in school beating up the teachers.
Mhm.
Because if they are in there and they're taking violence to the teachers, what is going to happen when they get out on the streets? When they feel more empowered, what is going to happen? So the reality of crime is deeper than what happened the other day, than the shootings that we're hearing now. We got problems down the road, and it's over a period of time that we have things must be done in regards to education. Things must be done to deal with the problems that are going to be following us for the next 5 to 10 years.
All right, we have a comment online from Louis Carl. The evidence shows that when governments married itself to the gangs, there's also an upsurge in these kinds of crimes. It happened in Trinidad and Tobago. Remember that famous phone call on Good Friday?
How can we forget?
Yeah.
I'll answer your question. Yes, crime is definitely affecting our economy.
Mhm.
Remember, we're not really that big on ecotourism in that we do not have the mountains, the rivers. So we basically have sand and sea.
Mhm.
And people would come to Barbados because they would often say that Barbadians are friendly, nice people. And then you have Barbadians going around like the Wild West and shooting people, robbing people in broad daylight without even using tape. Right? Then we have an issue because people came or people are coming to Barbados, yes, for the sand and the sea, but they also like a society where they could walk at any hour of the night.
Mhm.
They could go to the St. Lawrence Gap and the Oystein and so on.
The first street.
And the first streets in St. James, second street in St. James. And then walk home holding their spouse's hand and so on, without being mugged or robbed or shot. And if people are too scared to come to Barbados, of course, it's going to affect the bottom line.
Mhm.
It's going to affect the economy. And the Barbados Labour Party led government for us a responsibility to see that crime is arrested because it's no longer a headline in the news.
It's a reality.
It has become a reality.
Yep.
Crime is out of control. And government is not managing crime. We know that crime will always be with us. But the government has a responsibility to manage crime. You can't have crime escalating in the way that it is,
Mhm.
and then blaming every sector in society except yourself. When you point at people, look how many other fingers pointing at you. You are the problem. Barbados Labour Party led government. It is your responsibility to find a solution. And I'm dead serious. I'm as serious as a judge. You said, give us the vote and let me show you. Is this what you're showing Barbadians? How inept you are? The Barbadian public is fed up. And we're going to see it when the general election is called, you know. Barbadians are fed up with the high crime. It is not part of our culture.
Mhm.
Almost every week. In fact, every week, someone is being shot or there's some violent crime. And I say no more than that.
All right, we have a comment here from Ivar Taylor. I am from Christchurch, West Central, and it is terrible out here on crime. The 6 versus 7s in Gone Hill, where most of the youngsters are dead, are in jail on murder, robbery, or gun and ammunition charges. Christchurch West Central is the constituency that I am responsible for. And this constituency has been plagued by violence for as long as I probably was alive. I've spoken to several constituents recently, and they've said that crime has increased in this constituency tremendously over the last 7 years. We recently had the 13-year-old boy that was shot in Silver Hill. We have an increase of other shootings in Silver Hill, Gaw Hill, Vauxhall, and probably Kendall Hill as well. There have been some robberies. So this constituency has been plagued with violence on all levels. And the former representative from the constituency, Mr. Stephen Lashley, he did a wonderful job over the last several years when he was the representative. He created a community center, one that was a supermarket before. And from creating this community center, it allowed the individuals in the constituency to have other things to do, to occupy their time, their energy, to have an outlet. It became a cultural hub for the persons in the constituency. Some of them did a lot of dancing, singing. It even has a record studio inside of this community center.
Oh.
So I just want to say kudos to Stephen Lashley for the work that he did in the constituency before. And I hope that I can add to what he has done and make the members of the constituency proud. So, Damien,
Yes, please.
how is crime affecting the economy?
Well, we all know that our economy is sun, sea, and sand.
Mhm.
Basically, nothing else. Manufacturing isn't, I guess, a focus anymore, seeing that they've come since the Barbados Labour Party's come into this administration. The sugar has declined, production of sugar has declined drastically. And I want people to understand that if your only offer in regards to boosting your economy is tourism, and you have a lot of crime, that is a serious conflict in regards to what your strategic goals are. Because if people don't feel safe, they're not going to come. If businesses don't feel safe, they're not going to open. And it is not like if Barbados is a place that really has a lot of places that have this 24-hour, this 24-hour running mandate to provide services, and especially hospitality services. We only have, like, as you said, First Street, Second Street in St. James, St. Lawrence Gap, and probably one or two pockets of other places. So then when you can see all over the island that every other day someone is getting shot or someone is getting robbed or cars now are being stolen, people are getting carjacked in Barbados. You believe that? We are 166 square miles. Where are these people hiding these cars? We are getting carjacked in Barbados. That is something that I myself never thought I would ever see happen. So there is a fundamental problem that we have going on, and it's going to affect the economy because people are not going to travel. They're not going to do business. They're not going to come here if they do not feel safe. So then what are we supposed to do? Because we've not seen any particular positions or policies or even solutions coming from the current administration. Their previous solution was to implement a peace program that, by all attempts, has failed. That has failed. They didn't take any of the previous, I guess, administration serious, DLP administration serious when we said, listen, crime is something that is getting out of hand and it's something that we need to rein in. They always ridiculed us. And it's something that we need to hold the BLP government for. They are weak on crime. They've always been weak on crime. This isn't something that just happened in a vacuum and happened overnight or just happened in 7 years. They've always been weak on crime. And it's been more, and it's been proliferated more now in the past 7 years. Because I guess they assumed that they had, I guess, gotten complacent. They gotten comfortable when they saw that, hey, 30 love the first time, 30 love the second time. They sat on their ivory towers and they got comfortable.
Council, I would like to remind you but your act was recently amended, but it has no, the law is still not being properly enforced. Enforcement is also a problem in Barbados. We have laws, a lot lots of laws on our books, but we find that government is hesitant to enforce these laws.
Right, and they didn't even speak specifically to the anti-gang laws now that we are looking to get implemented. Something needs to be done, and this administration seems to be bereft of ideas.
I want to take an opportunity now. We're going to break away from the normal conversation, and I want to take this opportunity to wish a very beautiful young lady who has been the host of this show for a long time, who has done a wonderful job in hosting this show. I want to take the opportunity to wish Malissa Howard the happiest birthday ever. And I pray that God would continue to bless her and to guide her in her journey in her constituency. And I hope that people will recognize her for what she is. She's a very skillful young lady and has a lot to offer politics in Barbados. And I'm sure Damien and Jason would also like to wish Melissa a happy birthday. Go ahead, gentlemen. Do your thing.
I can wish you a happy birthday on behalf of the constituents of St. Peter and perhaps the wider DLP family.
Thank you.
But if I attempt to say that would give the other side a lot of fun.
Melissa, let me say happy birthday first thing. We got to do something about your birthday face, man, because I couldn't tell that today was your birthday. You came in here all. I mean, like you came in here all. You were your usual self, right? You were glowing a little bit, but you came in here all business. You know what I mean? So I couldn't even tell that today was a special and most momentous occasion.
Yeah, I should be on vacation. Yeah.
What's this? But let me say, most happiest birthdays to you. May you live to see many more, and I look forward to the work that you will do when you win your constituency.
Thank you very much.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Melissa. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. Moving on, we're back to the show. Still on crime. Do you think that the government is doing enough to fight crime in Barbados?
That's the easiest question you know.
No. No. They need to enforce the laws on the statutes, on the books. One, they need to find a way to speed up crime. So speed up the judiciary. Right? They need to. I don't know if you get a gun court or what have you, but in Jamaica, the government needs to give police officers the tools and perhaps better pay. Better pay. Today, a police officer told me, Jason, I put in 6 days straight. The number of weeks, I am faggot. Right? You can only do that for so long. They could use resources. You have drones. You have all the police officers that are not going to go out in the field, but you can have drones in the sky, especially at night in certain areas. So you have to tell the government this, I'm going to walk and chew for you. Put drones in the sky, use more CCTV, and so on. You don't have to rely solely on manpower, but use the technology.
Damien.
Easiest question of the night. No. No. For me specifically, I think we need to change certain cultures and the mindsets of our young people, because I'm for the life of me, I do not understand how going to jail seems to be so attractive. It seems like if it's a Club Scout badge or something like that, and then when you see them at the in court, right, go across the courtyard and the people are shouting them and you know, and they're raising the hand and they're shouting the people, they're coming home soon. You know what I mean? And then these people are glorifying them. That in itself, it just, as the young people say, it got me beat. Because I can't understand, because I think that we don't
Mm.
have enough programs or policies in
police.
place to steer the minds of our young people away from that, I guess, the attractiveness of prison. Because prison should not be something that everybody aims. It should not be a, I've been there, I got the t-shirt. You know, it should not be something that is that attractive. And I feel that not only have they failed in the policing, not only have they failed in the judiciary, not have they failed in the education, they failed in regards to culture. Because the Barbados Labour Party led government, as my friend Jason likes to call them, it seems like they felt that once they befriended the individuals who tend to live on the other side of the law, they felt that, you know, we could, I guess, I don't know, rein them in, bite them, be the
Mhm.
friend, you know. And it's one thing I've grown up hearing: a parent cannot be friends with a child.
No.
You have to be the individual who sets the rules. You have to be the individual who sets the standards. And so far, I've not seen any standards being set. All it seems that this administration wants to do is to befriend everybody and party.
Oh, yes.
That's it. And piggyback on policies that we implemented shortly, steal them, rename them,
Mhm.
and then tax the people with them. That's not been lost on us. We see it all the time.
The Barbados Labour Party is the biggest party.
And so
It's
you should call them the
a party.
Barbados Labour Fed.
Barbados Labour Fed.
That sounds about right.
David.
You want to know from me if this government failed on crime? I don't know if you want me to tell you that this government failed on crime. It's a major failure because at the end of the day, they laughed at David Thompson.
Yeah, they ridicule him.
And they laughed, basically spat in his face. And now that the shoes on the foot, the scotching. Because the reality is that they're not doing anything significant to help to reduce crime or to capture and house and put away crime. Like I said before, there has to be a program for the schools to hear.
Mhm.
There has to be a program for the schools. And the reality is that this crime situation has the ability to destabilize this country. It is multi-layered. It will have an effect on multiple areas in society: school, social life. Already have the effect on the social life, because at night people don't want to leave home anymore. And business life, it's multi-layered. It's having a negative effect on all aspects of life. So, in truth and in fact, the biggest problem we have now is crime to be solved. It has to be solved. And like Damien said, if the Barbados Labour Party, and because they know they're not going to solve this problem, step aside. Step aside, let somebody else. Let us
The DLP.
deal with it.
Let the DLP
We
do it.
can deal with it. We don't want to have to deal with it. But somebody has to wrestle this animal to the ground. And it's not about challenging criminals, but it's about bringing some sense of decency and, for the want of a better word, some sense of decency back to society where people are comfortable walking the streets, doing business, and living in this country. It has to happen. We have to make living in Barbados meaningful and not people being afraid to live here.
All right, we have come to the end of our crime segment. Now we're going to move on to corruption. All right, we're just going to play a video about the Honorable Ralph Thorne, the leader of the opposition, that he spoke in Parliament this week. So we're just going to play this video for you, the video one.
honorable member criticizes a previous government for embarking on the borrowing of $40 million. And he says, not his words, mine, that they must have committed one of the cardinal sins in canceling that loan. Oh, how the people of Barbados wish that this government were wise enough to cancel some of these loans. I've never heard a government criticized for canceling a loan, because the previous government must have taken the position that to take the loan at that particular point in time was imprudent. It was financially imprudent. And cancellation, how do you criticize cancellation? How do you criticize cancellation if you believe that at the time it is an imprudent exercise to embark on the taking of that loan? But we will come to loans. We will come to loans that this government has taken, loans that this government has not given account to the people of Barbados for in terms of their expenditures. And I am going to embarrass this government now by referring to the Comey loan. By referring to the Comey loan. Let the laughter die down. The honorable member for Christchurch East Central criticizes the previous government for cancelling a loan. He is stopping me today. I repeat, the honorable member for Christchurch East Central criticized the previous government for cancelling a $40 million loan. This government took a loan of $25 million from a now well-known bank for the purpose of, and I quote, cricket development. Has this government given account to this country? Has this government given account to the Barbados Cricket Association? Has this government given account to all of the many clubs across Barbados as to the expenditure of that loan of $25 million received for cricket development? No, it has not. It has not. What we saw was a paint job done on a relatively new stadium. What we saw was the importation of a temporary stand at Kensington. That is not cricket development. Cricket is not a paint job at Kensington. Cricket is not the purchase of a temporary stand at Kensington. Cricket is a game, and more than a game in this country, it is a central portion of a local culture. That thing we call cricket, that central portion of this culture has not benefited. It has not. I am a member of a cricket club, and I have seen no enhancement, neither of the facility nor of the game. I have seen a game that continues to languish in this society. I've seen a Barbados Cricket League that has reduced from 120 clubs to about 12. And we have a Ministry of Sport. I have seen the game in decline, and it is a painful thing to observe. But I don't wish to digress. The people of this country were told by this government that $25 million was borrowed for, and I quote, cricket development. The point I make is that this government cannot with any credibility, nor with any moral authority, criticize any loans or the cancellation of any loans done by a previous government, because this government stands guilty today of taking loans in the name of the people of Barbados and not giving account for the expenditures which flow from the receipt of those loans. In other words, the people of Barbados do not know where this money is going. Shakespeare said, something is rotten in the state of Denmark, something is rotten in this new Republican state. That's something as basic as loan expenditures cannot be shown to the people of Barbados, and that's the Comey loan of which I speak.
All right, so this segment is about the misappropriation of public funds. This Comey loan, as you have heard, was $50 million, which was supposed to be used for the development of cricket. I'm sure if many of you look around in Barbados right now, can you tell if cricket is developing in this nation or not? I would say no. We have one indoor batting facility in the entire island. Many of the cricketing facilities don't have practice pitches. So my question for y'all, is cricket developing in Barbados? Damien?
Well, cricket wasn't really my sport. I know I probably committing blasphemy on the LPTV right now. I was always more of an athletics and football guy. But I was a PE teacher several hundred lifetimes ago. But when you really take stock and you take analysis of what is really the state of the game at this point in time, you can't see anything that shows that cricket is being developed in the country. There is a decline. There's a decline in facilities. There's a decline in participation. There's even a decline probably in the exposure of the game itself. One, would you have told yourself 30 or 40 years ago that cricket will be a decline in Barbados?
No.
At one point in time, cricket was the only sport in Barbados that anybody cared about. But for some reason, we see a pattern that where this government borrows money and you can't see where it's going.
Correct.
And then when they want to, I guess, implement another project, they borrow more money. But then you could tell me that a particular sewage tax that you implement on the people is bringing in $80 million per month. This is not a year.
Per month.
Per month. Where is the money going? As Comrade Jason said, show me the money. Follow the money. Where is it going? Because I, for myself, can't sit down and be quiet seeing an administration that criticize a previous administration about the amount of money that they're borrowing. And this particular BLP administration has probably borrowed more than 2 billion Barbados dollars in 7 years. I want people to take stock and look in the camera. People of Barbados, in 7 years, this Barbados Labour Party led government has probably borrowed more than 2 billion Barbados dollars in 7 years. Where has it gone? These are the sort of things that would terrify me if I was a father, knowing that my children have to pay back those loans. Where is this money going? And if there was a crisis today that money had to be called back, who is going to pay it? That's all I'm going to say for tonight on that.
Let us call it like this. Oh,
Lord, no.
And a billion is 1,000 million. 2 billion is 2,000 million. Think about it. It's a number we can't really get our mind around. Listen, we already have the Auditor General, the Public Account Committee, and the Prevention of Corruption Act, but they have no bite. So I want to propose this. And I challenge the Barbados Labour Party led government, right, to make the Auditors General's report legally actionable. Do that. Make the Auditors General report actionable. Give it the force of law. I want to strengthen the Prevention of Corruption Act with clear penalties and timelines. And thirdly, we need to create, I need you, Barbadians need you, to create an independent anti-corruption authority with real powers to investigate all government contracts. And I might say, once we have a contract of $100,000, make it public. Make it public. If a contract is over $100,000, all Barbadians should know, because you must remember this: the money you are spending are taxpayers' dollars, not your piggy bank. It is the people's money, and you must be accountable. So these authorities, give them some bite. Give us some transparency. Already we have a one-party state. So please, I'm going to repeat, and I wrote it down so I don't forget. Make the Auditor General's report legally actionable. Strengthen the Prevention of Corruption Act with clear penalties and timelines. And create an independent anti-corruption authority with real power to investigate government contracts. That's all I'm asking.
All right, if you looked around Kensington during the World Cup, all I saw was a little paint job, a temporary stadium installed, and a couple lightings around the field. Is it worth, did you see $50 million of work?
No, of course not. But the question is very good.
Well, they claim that $5 million out of the 50 went to Oistins. When you go to Oistins, all you see is red tents and a couple benches painted red. Is that $5 million worth?
I tell you, that's the most expensive tents and benches I've ever seen in my whole entire life, which means that somebody probably needs to not hold the purse when it comes to purchasing and installing whatever it is that really when it comes to the people's money, because it's not the government's money that they're borrowing, it's the people's money. The money is supposed to go into the hands of the people. So when you can borrow close to $2 billion and you can't have anything to show for it, that is a fundamental failure of your policies that you said you were going to do for the people when you said, give me the vote and watch me. And the most disingenuous thing about it too is that it feels as if people who should be screaming this besides ourselves to high heaven are quiet. People in the media, journalists, individuals who have a responsibility, a fiduciary duty to the people. Tell them, listen, hey, I don't know where this money is going. I can't tell you where this money is going, Something is fundamentally off. But yet you hear nothing. So that is how tyranny tends to thrive. Because when people are quiet, when individuals who have the responsibility to speak up are quiet, and there's only a few people who are telling you need to look in this particular direction, and the government's telling you, no, look over here, we gathering and we got effect over here and this is next, when certain social communities are being banned because they criticize the government. These are things that people should be terrified of. And it's incumbent upon the Democratic Labour Party, who are the working man's party, to step forward. We need to step forward and show the people that, listen, we are a better alternative. We've always been for the working class. We've always been about social programs. We've always about helping people to access health care and to access other social rights that we believe that is a fundamental right. So because when a government comes in and says we're going to do something and don't do it, it is your voice now that needs to hold them accountable. And if so, vote them out.
But there's a comment here from Pedro Gemma. Look on top, Melissa, and you basically letting us know that there are solar panels on top of the roof. I remember during the World Cup, a 6 was hit. And I think it was probably the first game at Kensington, and one of the panels were destroyed. But these solar panels, the question would be if they're on the grid as yet, because many of us, we can't get on the grid. There are many residential persons that are looking to get on the grid and they can't get on the grid. But there are certain businesses in Barbados that have no red tape, no issues whatsoever getting on the grid. No, yeah. So Kensington Oval Management Inc., they're not known for making profits. This deal with the Afrexim Bank was a deal that was signed between the CEO of Kensington Oval Management Inc., Mia Motley, and a member of the bank. So my question is, who's repaying this loan? Is it taxpayers' money, or is it Kensington Oval Management Inc. that's repaying the loan? Damien.
Melissa, I have no idea. For you, I have no answers on that.
But this is something that we, the public, should know. So why don't we know?
So that in itself is the fundamental problem. How can you, in a sense, gift land to a bank and you can't tell us what is the process?
Mm-hmm.
That screams of malfeasance and corruption. Because, well, when I last checked, there is a process, and that process is a legal process. That is a process that involves the paper trail, and no one can come and show me the paper trail. All they can just say, "Oh, it's an arrangement that we made, and this is going to benefit the people of Barbados."
Mm-hmm.
We've heard that before, but I cannot tell you for the life of me how or who, because you can't access anything online. You can't even go through the budget estimates and determine how. You can't read it in the central bank report. These are things that should be made public for the people to read.
Correct.
And we're not seeing them.
Jason.
There's too much smoke screen, right? And sometimes you don't need to pray at these things. We need transparency, especially when you have 29 to 1. You have a fiduciary duty.
Yes.
You have an obligation to the people of Barbados to be even more transparent than you would be when you have a normal, at least two-party government.
Speak on so.
When you have virtually a one-party state, it behooves you to be forthcoming with information. And whenever you are hiding behind doors, people tend to ask questions. And where there's smoke, oftentimes there's fire. And I leave it broad like that.
David.
The buzzword here is transparency. Are the buzzwords transparency and accountability? And you look seriously at how this particular administration does business. There's clearly a lack of transparency and there's zero accountability. You have a government that collects funds. A lot of the funds that are collected, like taxes that are collected, are these funds, or do these funds go through the consolidated fund, which is the fund that government pulls from? Because when I look at certain taxes, for example, there's a tax for the hospital. Does that tax go through the consolidated fund? I don't think so. Does the sewage and garbage tax go through the consolidated fund? I don't think so. We have a problem where a lot of taxes are collected that does not go into the consolidated fund. The consolidated fund is the central pool where our taxpayers' money, by law, should go into that pool. So why is all these different taxes being placed on the people, but not going into the pool? Another question of that. When it does not go into the pool, what happens to it? Who is in control of the funds that don't go into the consolidated fund? And how are we going to have records on these funds? How are we going to be able to see how much of these funds are being collected and what the funds are being used for? There is a serious lack of transparency and accountability in Barbados. We have an administration that seems to believe that they can do as they like, and nobody can question them. And that's a sad place to be, because if you put me in charge of your money, and I collect your money and I don't put it in your account, then you don't know how much money you have in your account. I know though. I know, because I know where I put in the other money. But that is the problem. As a Barbadian, I would like to know from the administration, please, what happens to the money that does not go into the consolidated fund? And apparently there seems to be a lot of money not going there, because to be collecting 80 million
per month.
a month, 80 plus million a month, $1 billion a year from the sewage and garbage tax.
Only.
Alone.
Yeah.
$1 billion a year. And this question came earlier. Somebody mentioned this earlier. Because if you collecting $1 billion a year from sewage and garbage tax alone, then how much is the petrol tax attracting? And nobody knows.
And where is it going?
Nobody knows. I keep asking, are these taxes going into the consolidated fund, where we can have some measure of accountability? So the problem here in Barbados is that a lot of taxes are being collected, but we don't know where it's going. And I care. I hope people will start to care about what is happening to these funds that are collected from us on a daily basis. And because look at it this way: $1 billion in garbage and sewage tax every year, but we are borrowing X amount of billions from lending agencies and then the institutions over a period of time. And I always say this: until you can show me some new roads, until you can show me a few new bridges, until you can show me a few new government buildings, then I am concerned about what is even happening to this borrowed money. Where is it being spent? Where is it being spent? So the accountability must come, and the Democratic Labour Party, as a responsible caretaker of the people of Barbados, it is our responsibility to start to do the calculations. It's our responsibility to look to see how much of these taxes are being collected, or where the taxes that are being collected are going. It's our responsibility on behalf of the people of Barbados to investigate the sewage and garbage tax, how much has been collected, how much and it has been spent. The fuel tax, how much has been collected and where has it been spent? Even the hospital tax, how much has been collected and how much of it has gone to the hospital? Because that's one of my major concerns too. The quality of healthcare in Barbados.
The $10 million machine that
That
that's
has
sitting
not
there.
been installed. We have so many issues that we should be concerned about, because I know people who are afraid to go to QH for whatever reason. They are afraid. I have somebody that said I prefer to stay home and die.
Wow.
That's a That's sad. That's a sad place.
Yeah.
That's a sad place to find yourself, where you say, I prefer to stay at home and die to go in there than to go in there. The QEH was in better condition under the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
The Queen Elizabeth Hospital was in better condition under the Barbados. Look, this government has failed. It has failed, and we can't pretend around that. The reality is that healthcare is in dire straits. The nurses are being attacked. They are underpaid. The police underpaid, under-resourced. The social services are in a mess.
They've been left to decay.
And the question is, with the government collecting so many taxes, so much money,
And borrowing on top of it.
and borrowing so much money, why are all these social services in trouble? Why are we getting the worst public transport in the history of Barbados? Why are we getting the most inconsistent garbage collection in the history of Barbados?
All right.
Why can't people go to the hospital and feel comfortable that they will get care and that they will recuperate and come back and be productive citizens? Why are people going to the post office to collect money and hearing that they ain't got the money there to get the checks, the pension checks, and say, well, you gotta come back because the money ain't come yet and all these kind of things.
But the consultants are paid though.
But the consultants are paid. So, and not only that, it isn't only that the consultants are paid, is that this government seems to take pride in paying consultants exorbitant,
Amount of money.
ridiculous amounts of money, fees. Why are they so comfortable shelling out money as if they got their own money machine?
And my thing is too, is that are the individuals who are educated in this region, in the Caribbean region, are Barbadian economists or are Barbadian professionals, are they incompetent that they could not have been hired as consultants?
Damien, I like that question because at the end of the day, right? We boast about our education.
Yep.
But when you look at the hospital, who's heading the hospital right now?
A foreigner.
Then you had the man that came for the vacation down at the BHTA. The guy that came and had probably the best vacation in life. The reality is that these people keep, I don't know if it's an arrangement between that they had to thing with the IMF. I don't know. Because the same when they put your hands in the devil's hand, it's not easy out. So the reality is that there are things happening that are kind of oxymoronic.
Yeah.
Why I say that is because we boast about our education, and we have very intelligent people in Barbados.
And yet we outsource.
But yet this government,
and put the
don't
money,
seem to have any confidence
in
our education.
Furthermore, let's take a minute to mention that they've also hired, like they import outsourced nurses.
Yes.
And pay them more.
Yeah.
Than our currently highly educated nurses. And we have a lot of nurses who are out of work, who got into the field so that they could get into the healthcare system and alleviate it. But yet you are finding ways to import every Tom, Dick, Harry, Jane to pay them more than our nurses. And you want to come and tell me that you care?
Damien,
you care about the people?
Why are you opening the can of worms right now on this show?
Well,
right. We're gonna move on.
All right.
Are we gonna play another snippet for you from Parliament this week? So have a listen.
He is just sent here to say things that the government once said. He is not the senior minister in the Ministry of Finance. But it is so curious, you know, these jobs are handed to him. And I bear no hostility towards him. In fact, I care for him and what he has to do. And it can't be easy to be appointed to be a bearer of concealed bad news to the people of Barbados. Look, honorable member, through you, sir, for Christchurch East Central, let the other person come sometimes and bear this bad news. I care for you as a technocrat. I do. As a politician, I am not sure that these expeditions to this chamber to do what the honorable member is being asked to do fortnightly or monthly is in the honorable member's best reputational interest. I care for this honorable member as a technocrat, not as a politician, whom I insist is not government's errand boy. If anybody says that, I'm not going to agree with them. But he is asked, the honorable member is asked to do a job that perhaps a person with courage should be the one to come here and to do it. And I will demonstrate to his colleagues his own innocence. His own innocence. And this is not a personal attack. This is to dissect the political anatomy of a man who, a minister, a junior minister, who sometimes says things unwittingly. And I was so grateful to the honorable member on the last occasion when in full flight he came here and spoke about the $500 million US loan. And he boasted that it could have been $2 billion if they had felt like taking it. And then he named the delegation. And I suspect the one who sent him may be a little upset at him for unwittingly telling the truth. And it was a significant truthful disclosure when the honorable member named that delegation and identified a party within that delegation which may have become the beneficiary of a very handsome commission. So let the people of Barbados now understand that these loans that this country is taking have attached to them certain hidden expenses. But the honorable member for Christchurch East Central, in his political innocence and his technocratic disposition to transparency, much to the chagrin of the person who sent him, disclosed impliedly that these loans come possibly with generous expenses paid to certain individuals. This is a parliament, a place of speech, impliedly a place of truthful speech, and I want to thank him for telling the truth of that last loan. That in all likelihood, a percentage of US $500 million was taken as a commission and paid to some very fortunate party or parties. A similar disclosure has not been made today. I don't know if the honorable member has been chastised for his innocence and political honesty on the last occasion. But in case the people of Barbados are interested, since the people of Barbados are the ones who are going to repay these loans, the people of Barbados also want to know, and they're entitled to know, and they insist on knowing what are the expenses and to whom have those expenses been paid. These are public funds. This is not a private arrangement, and if any private entity is benefiting from a public obligation, as the honorable member did on the last occasion, please identify the private parties, and as was not done on the last occasion, please do on this occasion and tell the people of Barbados how much of this loan, if any at all, is being paid in professional fees. As I said, it is a public transaction. let the public know. It was disclosed on the last occasion. The possible beneficiary was disclosed on the last occasion. Is there now a private beneficiary in relation to this loan? You see, the point is this, that most of these transactions into which government is entering and speaking glowingly of public benefit, there is a large private benefit going to some people in this country. Name them. And not only name them, but say how much they get in. Because the amount that Barbadians have to repay includes what is being paid to these persons. This is not a private arrangement. This is a country being committed. This is the people of this country being committed to the repayment of a loan. Oftentimes, we do not need it. But clearly, somebody needs to make handsome benefits whenever this country, this government, I beg your pardon, whenever this government embarks on these financial expeditions, claiming, and I say falsely claiming, that these monies are destined into certain areas, and the people never see it. The people of this country never see it. Loans have been taken by this government, and this country has not seen the physical, the material benefit of those loans.
So one of the recent loans that the government applied for was about 500 million US. This loan was at 8%. They said that the loan was going to be used to pay off the IMF. The IMF loan was at 4% interest. The last payment for this IMF loan was due in the year 2045. And the amount of payments that we owe the IMF was approximately about 658 million RSA, which is probably about 700 and something million US dollars. So if you had up to 2045 to pay back this IMF loan, why would you rush to go and obtain a loan for 500 million US dollars with the assistance of White Oak, the same financial advisor that the government went to when they initially went into government, and they paid approximately $50 million, $54 million too at the time. So was White Oak paid another $54 million this time around with our taxpayers' money? But the main question is, were we about to default on an IMF payment? Damien.
Listen to me, right? I can be very serious when I say this. And I'm an attorney at law. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an economist. But it is a fundamental fact that when you are borrowing to pay back a debt, that is not good at all. That is not prudent. Because this is my thing. This goes back to the same debt to GDP ratio conversation I was trying to have. Because you've basically borrowed and buttressed the reserves with the money that you basically borrowed. You get me? So then the gross domestic product, which includes your services and your goods, they are supposed to be to a certain extent where that you can rely on economic growth. If you are producing from in your own country, right, and it's to a point that where it helps buttress your GDP, then obviously you are in good standing. That means that your money is literally coming from out of your own pocket, which then services whatever policies or implementation plans or whatever that you have. You get me? So then, if you can look at what the government is currently doing, they are borrowing to do everything that they need to do. It's not coming from our own pockets. It's coming from outside sources, outside fundings that they have to pay back with interest. That means that basically you are on a house of cards. And if you have to borrow to repay what you're already paying back, that shows that you are in a very bad fiscal position. And I'm surprised that I'm not hearing more economists coming out and saying this, or even the social media financial gurus who get on social media and they critique the government's performance in
No,
regards
the
to
question is, are they afraid to criticize the government? What is the blowback of criticizing the government?
what is the blowback of stumping your toe? It will hurt. You get me? But what is going to hurt more when your country is now your dollar is devalued? When you have to cut social services because you have to take a loan from a serious loan or go into austerity from the IMF. What's really going to happen? What's going to happen when you can't send your kids to school, or you can't feed yourself, or you basically can't take out a mortgage, you can't buy a car, you can't run your business?
Damien, do you think we were about to default on the IMF payment?
No.
Sorry, not Damien.
Oh.
Jason.
If my money serves me correctly, the loan was borrowed for two reasons. They wanted to pay off a bond, which was at 6.5, well, 6.9, 6.5, right? Due in 2029. And that was it. And they also want to pay off the IMF fund, which was less than 4%.
Less than 4%.
So you're borrowing new money to pay off all debt at a higher rate. It's a very foolish thing to me. It's like having a mortgage. You're almost finished paying off your mortgage. And you're going to take a new loan at a higher interest rate to pay off the mortgage. And then, burden with a higher interest on a new debt. It doesn't make sense. And the second reason for the loan, which you didn't mention, they wanted to establish a sinking fund. This sinking fund is money for a rainy day. In other words, the government now has money to use at their rates and fancy. Right? There's money there. So if something happens, they can use it. But I think the reason given back then is the disaster and so on. But who is going to really control when Barbadians are focusing on something else? Right? What is going to happen? Who's going to be accountable for this sinking fund? Right? I think that was perhaps part of the reason to get this loan. This sinking fund. I like the name. Sinking fund. And that is part of the problem. So you claim you're going to pay off the IMF loan and the bonds, then part goes to the sinking fund. And there's no real accountability there how that money is used. Right? As far as I'm concerned, we could have done without going to the IMF for this loan. Right? And your question was?
Were we about to default on a payment?
Let's be careful answering that question.
I will leave that there.
Let's be careful answering that question. Let's just leave that open-ended for the time.
David?
The question was again.
Do you think we were about to default on an IMF payment?
I'll be honest with you, right? I don't know I don't think we should have even had to go to the IMF in the first place, 2018. Because when this government came into the power, into running the responsibility to run the affairs of this country, they did some debt canceling. And that debt canceling, as far as listening to the technocrats and things, could have easily amounted to about $1.5 billion, right?
About that, yeah.
And why would you write off $1.5 billion then to go and borrow?
About yep.
Right? How much they might have borrowed already? About $2 billion?
Closer, probably.
Yeah.
So you wrote off $1.5 billion to borrow $2 billion.
This is under this advice of the same White Oak, by the way.
This is under advice of a high cost advisor.
Mhm.
So my whole thing in regards to the issue of all these loans and stuff like that, my problem herein lies my problem. If you collecting $1 billion in sewage and garbage tax every year, $1 billion, we are 7 years into this administration, right? That wouldn't that be $7 billion? So we could easily have $7 billion sitting around somewhere in a suitcase, like a woolen suitcase, a cabinet or something. Why are we borrowing all this money? If we collecting $1 billion in garbage and sewage tax every year, it makes no sense. Because I'm saying that, of course, we can need foreign exchange, we can need foreign currency and stuff like that. Take the money that you're collecting in taxes and make tourism work and try to get some other industries up and running so that we can find ways to bring foreign exchange into the country. But what Damien said and what Jason said is true. We have a government basically borrowing to run country. But the question is, what is happening to all the taxes that are being collected? If we collecting $1 billion a year alone in sewage and garbage tax, what is happening to the fuel tax? What is happening to the foreign exchange tax? These taxes that happen when you do business on with a credit card on the internet and stuff like that. What is happening to these taxes? So the reality is that I'm not a economist or financial advisor, as Damien would call it. But I'm looking at it from the position of a layman. I'm a layman, and I like to deal with things from a layman position. The reality is, as a businessman, as a person trained in business,
something adding up.
A lot of things are adding up.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things are adding, and I need this government to come good on transparency and accountability. You're not doing well on transparency and accountability. You're collecting lots of taxes. You're snatching money left, right, and center, but we don't know what you're doing with it, man. We need to know. We need to know. This is our business. It's not your own personal little piggy bank. And I can't understand why a government would behave this way, as if the monies and taxes that are being collected belong to the Barbados Labour Party or any political party. We need accountability and transparency in this country. We need to know what is happening to all the taxes you're collecting. You're strangling people. You're pushing people into poverty. You're pushing people below the poverty line. Your people are suffering in Barbados, and that's real. People are suffering. I've seen it. It is happening. The people of Barbados, in Barbados, of this country, need some accountability and transparency and how government is doing business. They're not doing well in those departments.
All right, the final topic, Carson's Point. 120 million was spent to build Carson's Point. Right now, the QH is in, a lot of serious problems. So Carson's Point could have been used as an additional facility to help in the healthcare system. Now, currently, Carson's Point is being used as a storage facility for a construction company from overseas. What are we doing, with our taxpayers' money? $120, $20 million gone down the drain, basically. Where's all the equipment that was at Carson's Point?
Well, I would think that if you had invested over $100 million into a facility, you would find some use fit for its purpose or its original design. So then that is a facility now that's not being used. And I'm not going to criticize any development that's going on in Barbados, but I believe that we probably could have found a better site to store those.
Of course, anywhere. Containers.
You could have probably leased some land that's not being used, set up a warehouse. You understand me? But that is a medical facility. What happens if there's another pandemic? What happens now if there's a medical emergency? What about the people of St. Lucie and St. Peter, all those people in the north? that could have been retrofitted and put into purpose so that those people don't have to travel so far to get medical treatment. These are things that we could think about.
You see, my colleague here is trespassing on my turf.
Very sorry, sir. Very sorry. Very sorry. Very
I
sorry. Sir.
remember
Very sorry.
this great party. When we were in office,
Uh-huh.
we opened a hospital in the north.
Uh-huh.
It's St. Joseph Hospital in Ashton Hall, St. Peter.
Uh-huh.
And that facility was there to assist the people in the north.
Uh-huh.
And as soon as the Barbados Labour Party administration came to power,
Mhm.
the first thing they did is close it down.
Mhm.
It is quite unfortunate because pregnant woman about to give birth, a man with asthma, someone with a serious injury could hardly wait
Mhm.
on an ambulance from the Queen Elizabeth Hospital or some other location to get the Spikestown in a half hour or even further north, Craphill or somewhere. Excuse me, and then to drive all the way back to Bridgetown in the south. You know, it's quite hard and difficult. And it seems to me that the Barbados Labour Party-led government is not a caring government insofar as helping the people in the north with medical facilities. There's a slap in the face. Because if you have a medical facility at Harrison's Point in Lucy, and you turn it into a warehouse, right? You're not managing the people's money properly. And indeed, it seems to me you don't care about the people in St. Peter and the north of Barbados. And like my colleagues, I'm not going to criticize any company doing business in Barbados because the projects must go on. And when we come together, come to government, we will facilitate those projects too. But this government is not managing the affairs of the people of Barbados. To turn a medical facility into a warehouse is a shame. After spending $120 million taxpayers' dollars, they should be put in political prison. for doing that.
David?
And I am sure that the people of Barbados will hold them accountable whenever the next general election is called.
I agree with you, Jason. I am with you, brother. The reality is that healthcare in Barbados is in crisis. Whether we want to believe it or not, you go to the polyclinic, services in the polyclinic are basically pegged down, pegged back. But the reality is that it is in crisis and people in Barbados are afraid, they are scared. They are concerned. They're concerned because how can you be comfortable going to our primary healthcare institution and got to sit, in some cases, sit in an area for 2 or 3 days before you get proper attention? The reality is that the facility at Harrison Point, $120 million in $120. $120 million is a lot of money. And a lot of us will live and die and never see $120 million. So the reality is that it is a slap in the face of taxpayers. The way these people are using taxpayers' money as if it is monopoly money. The reality is that this government does not seem to have any respect for the funds, for the resources of the people. That's my pet peeve right here in this segment. They don't seem to have any respect for the resources of the people. They seem to spend it as if it is their own personal piggy bank. The reality is you got the highest paid consultants. You're paying consultants at exorbitant fees. You're throwing away $120 million too. Along with that, this is unacceptable, and the people of Barbados should be marching for this one. I guess they maybe they need me to lead the march. I will do it. But the reality is that what is happening to us, the taxpayers of Barbados, is unconscionable.
Mhm.
It is unfair, and it shouldn't happen. Not with a government that came to power claiming
Take
that
care.
they care and that they came in campaigning on a ticket of accountability
And transparency.
and transparency. And up to 7 years later, it is the cloudiest, what David Thompson called them? Smoke and mirrors. I mean, it is just normal smoke. This is the type of smoke you see kind of these
Fog.
ZRs and things, you know, the
Fog.
black smoke.
Fog.
This is just this is black smoke. This is horrible smoke.
Fog and
There's
mirrors.
too much smoke associated with this government.
Mhm.
There's too much being hidden from the people of Barbados. We need you all to be accountable to the people of this country. The fact is, I am uncomfortable with the state of affairs in Barbados. I'm uncomfortable with the fact that I know nothing about all the taxes that you're collecting on our behalf. And as a member of this great nation of Barbados, I am calling for for real accountability and real transparency from this government. If you're not capable of doing that, please step aside. Step aside and let us do the work.
Let us do the work.
We are honest voices for the people of Barbados, and we intend to do it honestly. And that's what it's all about. I'm not here to play games. I'm here to serve, and to serve with integrity. There's no integrity right now. We need integrity in this country.
And to add on to what you were saying, comrade, notice where the priorities lie. They granted concessions to private medical institutions and closed our public medical facilities. Just look at where their priorities lie, just to add to that.
So the top.
So wait, are you saying that very soon that the average Bajan can't get medical care then?
Not free one. They have to pay.
You're gonna have to pay for it.
If we can't even pay the sewage and water and garbage, that how we gonna pay for medical services?
So the topic for tonight, foresee or the 4 C's. So my final question, what do you foresee in Barbados? Damien.
I foresee us taking the government. That's what I see. I foresee us bringing accountability and a promise of transparency. And I guarantee you, and I believe that this should be one of our manifesto promises, is that we are going to spot the light on everything that went on in the past 7 years so that we can bring some sort of accountability to the people and let them know where the public purse was being stored, what it was being done with, everything. And that should be something that we need to promise to the people, that we're going to show them what was going on with the money that was being collected in taxes and what was going on with the money that was being borrowed to fund our social plans or whatever it is that they wanted to implement. That is something that we need to do.
Jason.
Change is coming. Barbados, I'm on the ground in St. Peter. And from what I'm hearing and seeing, and believe you me, I'm listening. Barbadians are fed up and they want change. And the Democratic Labour Party is poised to take back this government. We are ready, we are willing, and we are able. And I want to speak to the good people of St. Peter at this moment. I am ready to
take over
let
your
me put it
reins.
this way. I'm ready to serve you. I'm ready to serve you. And I cannot wait until the general election is called.
David?
Well, what I see happening is that the people of Barbados must come to a point where they are going to make a decision to rid themselves of this government, mainly because it is not a transparent government. And I am, just like Jason said, I want to speak to the people of St. George North and let them know that the lack of representation that you've had over the last 5 years will come to an end.
Mhm.
And I will continue to serve you as I have served you before. And I will continue to work on your behalf, because at the end of the day, it has to be about service to people. The reality is that you're not being served right now. And a lot of you have expressed concerns regarding the lack of service from your representative. So what I'm looking forward to is a general election in Barbados being called, so the people of Barbados can have an opportunity to bring about the change that they need, so that we can have some transparency and accountability in government.
Right. We recently had a small delegation of Democratic Labour Party members visiting USA, particularly in Connecticut and New York. Coming up soon in August, around the 9th of August, I think, there will be another delegation from the Democratic Labour Party visiting London. So we're just going to play a small snippet.
Celebrating 70 years of the Democratic Labour Party, DLP. Get ready, London, Saturday, August 9th, 2025. We're celebrating 70 years of the Democratic Labour Party, DLP. And you are invited. Join us at the Wolves Lane Centre, Wood Green, from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. for an unforgettable day of culture, celebration and community. Hear from keynote speaker, the Honorable Ralph Thorne, leader of the opposition and political leader of the DLP, along with powerful supporting voices, Senator Andre Worrell and Vice President Felicia Dujon. Enjoy our music from DJ Tony, a vibrant Barbados marketplace, amazing performances, food, drink, and networking like no other. Free public entry and free parking right at the venue. Don't miss this historic celebration. Hey, 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 hey. Barbados, sweet home. Barbados, sweet home.
All right, thank you for my guests for joining me tonight. We have come to the end of our show. And thank you to all the viewers online for joining us another day for DLP TV. Continue to like and share and subscribe to our YouTube page. Have a good night and see you again.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Aye, aye, aye. Oh, yeah, yeah. Aye, aye, aye. Walaka, walaka. Can't drive on the road at night, cause you come with your lights so bright, like you won't blame me for spite. It is overbearing. Me and you never had no war. Why you spot the light on me for? Is it accidental or you just so uncaring? Every day you bout here complaining all the things that ain't going right. From now on I will be explaining which place you could spot the light. Spot the light in the parliament and see who is looking out for you or barely fooling we. Spot the light in the right places and find out who is on the people's side and who's selling out. Don't spot it on me, you joke. I don't be at no port when guns coming in. I am sure cowboys and Indians, no, don't spot it on me, you idiot. When taxpayers' money waste, don't spot it in my face. You better spot the light man who run the place. I don't run the government, I know if the computer. Don't spot it on me, Bozy. Spot the light man the DLP.
as they please, and then tell the authorities I feel violated. Go spot them in the treasury, then you will see if the economy living off borrowed money that IMF dictated. Light is a great disinfectant. Use it, don't abuse it at night, cause all that hide in the darkness must come out in the light. Spot the light in the board meetings and see who is representing you, or the rich minority. I want you spot the light in the right places and find out who is standing up for you, or just running them out. Don't spot it on me.